What's up, guys? So as many of you know, Jason David Frank has passed away. This was a shock to me and a lot of you. A lot of us grew up watching Power Rangers. A lot of us looked at him as our favorite ranger, the ranger that we pretended to be when we role played. So this is a very sad news. A little late to the party, as you would say, when it comes to talking about this. But I think it's important for us to talk about what happened specifically when it comes to the suicide piece of this whole situation. I've had a few of my youth within my church asking about this because of this. So in this video, I want to take a look at a few things. I want to take a look at what actually happened. I want to take a look at whether Jason was a Christian or not. We're going to be talking about suicide from a Christian perspective. And then above all, we're going to be looking at whether if you commit suicide, that's going to land you in hell. And answer the question, is Jason in hell? So let's get right into it. So I want to take a look at this article from CNN regarding Jason's death. And we have some quotes here from his wife. So it looks like he was 49 when he passed away. Now it says here, the truth is, I had no idea that Jason was thinking about ending things, she said. Yes, he had struggled with mental health issues and depression before, but I could never predict what would happen that night. According to Frank, their 19-year-old marriage had its troubles, including the loss just a year ago of her daughter Shayla, whom she said her husband had helped her raise. Between losing her and helping raise her baby son, Jason and I started having marital issues, Frank said. For anyone who has known the pain of losing a child, I know you understand how such a loss changes things in your marriage. They decided to separate, she said, but 6 weeks ago opted to reconcile, which included a weekend getaway that they were on when he died. The night of his death, she said, they had a heartfelt conversation after returning from an event at a bar. It says here, to help Jason relax, sober up before turning down to sleep, I went downstairs to get snacks from the lobby, she told People. I must have been gone no more than 10 minutes. I went back upstairs and began knocking on the door to no answer. I knocked repeatedly and kept calling for his name to open the door. Frank ended her statement asking people to stop making assumptions and leave my family to grieve peacefully. So what we see here is that they were out on vacation, potentially reconciling. She goes downstairs, comes back up, and she's not able to open the door. Eventually, Jason is found dead. Now, one of the things that I want to take a look at next in answering this whole suicide situation is whether or not Jason was a Christian. So it sounds like from what she shares here is that they were going through some struggles and he has dealt with some depression issues in the past. So I found this site here that talks a little bit about his journey as a Christian, and I wanted to talk through a few things with you guys. So many people told him to turn to God in his grief. That Frank was at first annoyed, but then decided he was receiving a message. People were telling me I needed God and all the stuff. And I was like, if one more person tells me that, then that is what it is, Frank recalled. So it looks like God was knocking on his door. So let's see if he answered. So it says here, a short time later, he became involved in an evangelical church in Crosby, Texas. Frank was moved to commit himself to church, follow Jesus, and combined his renewed faith with discipline of mixed martial arts. He invested $50,000 and started Jesus Didn't Tap with fellow Christian fighter Patrick Hutton. So it says here in the first year, Frank sold $250,000 worth of Jesus Didn't Tap Out clothing, he told reporters at this time. And he had deals with distributors in Great Britain and Australia. Some people bought the clothing as a joke, but Frank was convinced the message might still touch them and help them recognize the power of God's love. So from this article, it does seem like Jason was a active Christian. It does sound like he professed faith in God. All right, so the next thing that I want to talk about is suicide from a Christian perspective. Now, there are some Christians that believe if you commit suicide, then you are going straight to hell. The first thing that I want to say that these Christians are completely wrong on this issue. Just because you commit suicide does not mean that you are going straight to hell. Now I want to walk through some of the thought process behind this and talk about how this is actually not true, and you can't prove this biblically either. So the first thought process behind this false idea is that if you commit suicide, you were clearly not Christian to begin with, because a Christian wouldn't commit suicide. Now, there are a couple of things that we can take a look at when it comes to suicide and the act of suicide, right? The first is that you are most likely depressed, right? You are saddened to the point where you want to take your life. And the other step is you actually taking your life. Now, we need to look at these two things and understand biblically if this means that you were not saved. Now, the first one is being sad or depressed or wanting to take your life. Now, is that enough for you to not be saved? And the answer here is no. There have been plenty of people in the Bible that have wanted to die, that had been going through such a struggle where they wanted their life to end. And I'll share a few of them with you here. Now, it says here in God Questions, some people in Scripture felt deep despair in life. Solomon, in his pursuit of pleasure, reached the point where he hated his life, and we're seeing the verse there. Elijah was fearful and depressed and yearned for death. Here's the citing of this one as well. Jonah was so angry at God that he wished he would die. So even the Apostle Paul and his missionary companions at one point were under great pressure, far beyond our ability to endure, so that we despaired of life itself. So they yearned also to die. So we see here, obviously Paul was saved. Paul is in heaven. So just because you wish to die, just because you are depressed or you're going through a sad time or situation, it does not mean that you're not saved. Now, the second question is, you actually committing the act of suicide, is that enough to say that you are going to hell? Biblically speaking, when you commit suicide, you are killing someone, and that someone is yourself. Now, is that enough for this act to send you straight to hell? Is you killing someone enough for you to strictly go to hell? And the answer here is not. There are people in the Bible that have murdered, killed others while following God and are in heaven today. For example, David, who slept with Bathsheba, ended up killing her husband, right, in order to hide his sin. And we see him in Hebrews as one of the greats of faith, meaning that he is with God in heaven, or he will be with God in heaven. So killing someone is not enough to send you directly to hell. There's only one sin that can send you directly to hell, and that is the sin of unbelief, meaning that you don't believe in God. Look, guys, as Christians, we are going to go through struggles. We see it in scriptures that there are Christians that become depressed to the point where they want to end their lives. We are seeing in scripture Christians, followers of God, that killed people, that made mistakes and killed people, committed sins, and yet they are listed as people that will be one day in heaven. So if these two actions will not lead you straight to hell, then how can we assume that when somebody commits suicide, they're going straight to hell? It just does not make sense. It does not compute. So my message here to Jason's family is that if Jason truly professed Christ, which it seems like he did, he truly trusted in God, then you are going to find him. We are going to find him amongst the greats in heaven. And we can take comfort in that he made a mistake. He committed a sin against God, but that doesn't mean that he is going straight to hell. We all make mistakes. We all commit sins, and God forgives us. And God understands, and he meets us where we are at. As long as we trust in him, we are going to be with him in heaven. And that's the message for any of you that know of somebody that has committed suicide. If they profess Christ, and there was just a point in their lives where they did not want to continue living, this does not mean that they're going straight to hell. take hope in the fact that they trusted God to begin with. All right, guys, so this is what I had for you today. I hope that this is helpful to you. I hope that this is helpful for somebody out there. And as always, I just want to remind you that we must persevere.